minutes? Okay, we're live.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. It's 10:01. Okay. Sorry. We're gonna call this meeting to order. If you'd all please rise. Did I see Glenn?
No.
No, Glenn? Pastor, would you give me the privilege of giving the invocation, please?
Absolutely. Father God, we come before you right now, Lord. We thank you for these servants of our community coming together to do the work, to serve the people here in Socorro County. And Lord, we just pray for your wisdom and leadership and guidance as they make decisions, as they seek the good of this area. Lord, we thank you for your grace and for your goodness in each of our lives. And we just pray that you'll be here in the midst of us. So we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. If you'd all please stay standing and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Sandoval, would you read us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico to be a symbol of the American culture.
Okay, moving on. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ryan,
Here.
Vice Chair Secretary. Commissioner Duggins. I'm showing he is present. Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Chair Martinez.
Present, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Ryan,
Yes, sir.
please convey my apologies to the people there and to the commission not being able to be there present. As we testing positive for COVID, and I don't want to contaminate any more people with it. So I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
Thank you, Chairman, and I believe you all heard that. Thank you, Chairman, and I hope you and your wife get well really quick.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Manager Hawks, I don't have it in front of me right here right now, but is the time clock ahead of the salary discussion in the agenda?
It is part and parcel, but it's the first thing in that presentation.
Okay. When we
I think you have the entire pack.
right here,
No, that's the page. So this is part of the presentation. That's the first part of it, and then the rest of it.
oh, the
Yeah.
yes, it's the presentation. Or is it a Zoom link?
H, 11H.
H. We'll probably make it by then about 10, probably by 10:40. So I have to leave. So I hope, if I do, I'll finish it on Zoom or something.
Commissioner Duggins, would you like to move H up in new business section?
I think that would be better. I would.
Okay, well, the only way we're gonna make this work then, I think, is if I'll go ahead and make the motion to move H up to above A, so it'll be the first thing on the new business. And under election canvas, if needed, to move that to J, if we're gonna go precinct by precinct. If not, we could leave it where it's at, but if it comes down to, just that way it's not holding you up anymore.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to hear from the clerk.
Exactly, that's why, if needed, then we'll move A to the other side of J on election canvas, and we'll move.
Why don't we do the election canvas right after the H.
Cause there's a lot of other new business that I was hoping to take care of.
Well, let's just gamble with election
That's,
canvas the way it is.
that's why in my motion, I said if needed.
Okay,
Motion's on the table.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any more discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the October 25th meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The committee and department reports. First on the list is the detention centers. To acknowledge the department report. That was all in your packet. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion approved.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B, acknowledge manager's report. Mr. Hawks, anything to add or verbal? There's so much to add.
Sure, and I, Commissioners, the only thing I have is on my verbal report. That's what you're asking for? We're moving forward on all projects, started drilling in the parking lot of the courthouse for the solar panel structure, part of our energy efficiency project. Closing out all the small business grants that we granted last year to the tune of about $518,000. I only have one business outstanding. That'll be done by the end of this month. I'm supposed to meet this week or next. So that portion of the money is granted to all the local businesses. There were 17 of them. That project will be completed. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. Short and sweet. Are there any questions or discussion to Manager Hawks? Hearing none, motion approved.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Duggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Acknowledgement of November birthdays. Would somebody like to entertain that?
I'll go ahead. So we have James Nance, Sheriff's Office, November 3rd. Commissioner Glenn Duggins, November 10th. Donald Woodard, Senior Center, November 11th. Peter Werner, Sheriff's Office, November 16th. Esmeralda Armijo, Clerk's Office, November 20th. Debbie Williams Baker, Manager's Office, November 21st. Ken Wolf, Emergency Management, November 28th. And two of my oldest sons are in November, the 19th and the 25th. So happy birthday to everybody.
Thank you, sir. And also to my mom, November 4th. She's 27 now.
Not a girl.
Happy birthday, everyone in November. Moving on to the commissioner's report. Commissioner Gonzalez, anything to report at this time?
You know me, it's football season towards the end here, and we made the playoffs as a 1 seed. We got off to a rusty, shaky start, but we're looking forward to entertaining the privileged kids from St. Michael's High School on Friday night at September 6th. So I think the kids are up to the task. One more game and we get to the state championship, hopefully. So pray for them. Thank you.
That's up to you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duggins, anything to report at this time, sir?
Sounds like a good group of kids we have. Other than, I found out yesterday, learned that the Bureau of Reclamation has sent more water down south than, a few years ago than what was needed. They calculated wrong. I don't know what, but anyway, we can't retrieve it. It's gone. And we're still having our water issues, and I guess we'll always have. They were talking yesterday about by 2070 that we'll probably be looking at 25% less water than we have now. I don't know that I agree with that, or honestly, I'm not worried about 2070. We have people that I don't know how much farming will be left in this valley by then, really. But it's red chili season, and it's Christmas is coming up, and Thanksgiving is coming up, and all in all, we have a lot to be thankful for. So
Commissioner Duggins, by down south, what we're supposedly repaying Texas or?
Oh, that's, yeah, I think that's come out really pretty much in our favor. The worry is that within New Mexico now we'll start fighting, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think it was Richardson, but the pecan growers got more water rights. They were changed up a little bit than, say, the alfalfa, the other growers. And so there's gonna be a battle, you know, amongst ourselves, and I wish that wouldn't happen. And I hope it doesn't, but nothing has started. But with Texas, I think we came out pretty good. They claimed they were really kind of unprepared. I don't know, but most of the water cuts that were asked of this valley. And not what I mean of this valley, the middle Rio Grande, 200 miles here from Cochiti down. And from here on, we're going to do our best in that area to spread the loss amongst everybody. And when we talk about the middle Rio, or when we talk about New Mexico, we've under-delivered, so we owe South the water. But the state owes the South the water. It's not just us. And they are working on they're supposed to be getting to work on the low conveyance channel, which was dug in the, I don't know, late 60s or early 70s something. And that was again because New Mexico was in debt, water debt, and we dug that channel because it delivers the water more efficient. Then when all the endangered species and such came along, everybody, you know, wants the river wet. And there's frankly a lot of people that don't think we should be spending our water on farming, or at least in this area. And what those people don't understand is a lot of your vegetables and stuff need that dry, arid climate. And we should be thankful for what we have. And anyway, it's been a struggle for the ag community. And going forward, I think it's going to continue to be a struggle. I wonder if this commission, maybe, I think of all the state, federal government land, we're what, 80% government, the state? That's more or less fed and state both? 60. Well, there's a lot of these hills, in my opinion, they won't produce nothing. Is the commission have any say in getting the state to, or the feds to develop these lands for housing, for living, and leave our valley alone? We're covering it up with cement. We're gonna need it. And there's no other deeded land, so people are gonna continue to cover the valley with cement, and we ought to, I mean, if we're really gonna talk about 2070, that's a good spot.
I mean, it's certainly, we don't have any legal authority over it, but it's certainly something that we can advocate for because it's important.
Well, those greasewoods, and get the houses out of the flooding zone anyway, you know? That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman Martinez, anything to report at this time, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to do it at our next meeting, December 13th, please.
Thank you, sir. Save your voice. At this time, we'll move into public comment. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions and want to hear your concerns. This is not a question and answer period, and all speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. The county commission is not able to take action on this matter discussed during public comment. Speakers are requested to come up to the podium and state your name before starting. Is there anyone for public comment at this time?
We have Al Sandoval.
Mr. Sandoval? You. Jeffrey.
First of all, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Al Sandoval, as you all know. I'm here with my wife, Lori, and my neighbor, Hilario Baca. We're here to introduce an issue to you that you may or may not be aware of that's happening in Abetas, New Mexico, specifically at 339 New Mexico Highway 116. And the situation is that there's a rodeo or rodeos events. I'm not against the rodeos, but the fact is that as Commissioner Dugan says, maybe it's time to move things out of the flood zone areas and out to somewheres that can't violate things like ordinances, and especially there in Avetas where our community is generations upon generations of agricultural people and farmers. Well, these rodeos are started this summer as a result of some newbies, I guess that's what you want to call it, moving into Avetas and starting a rodeo. They're running events like barrel racing, roping, what's the other one? Calf roping, team roping, those situations. They're running into the nighttime and have loudspeakers. They've got big floodlights out there like stadium lights, which is also a nuisance and a disruption to our way of life out there. Most of the people that live in that area are retired people running, agricultural and agricultural businesses and farming, and we kind of like to leave it that way as well. We have day sleepers there that have to work during the night. Ladio is one of them. He works for the railroad, and sometimes he's called out to work all through the night and has to sleep during the day. So the loudspeakers are a nuisance. The traffic is beyond compare when they're having these events. I did call the state police, and they came out. I do not have a report on it. One of the things that I'm going to do, or we're going to do, is present to the commission at the next meeting, and we'll go into detail on a lot of these things. We're wondering about the permits and issues that the people who are running the rodeos, whether they're bringing in food trucks and vendors, and there's a lot of safety issues that we're concerned about, and health issues as well. Okay, I did get a hold of the livestock board, and they said, well, since it's on private land, there's not much they can do. However, unless there was any kind of abuse being done with the animals that are being used in the rodeo, but I'm not a rodeo guy or anything like that, so I don't know. I don't know. Running the same bunch of cattle for roping is an issue, especially when they're running for 2 days straight. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. So maybe. And then I also did get a hold of the New Mexico Environmental Health to make sure that the trucks that are there doing vendors selling food, whether or not that's an issue at all. But basically what I want to do is to introduce to you that problem that we have there in northern New Mexico. There's probably going to be in northern Socorro, in Avetas, probably a revenue loss for the county. I don't know. Okay. Any other comments from Lori or Eladio?
It's a huge disruption to our little community.
Mr. Bocc, sorry, could you come up just to introduce yourself? We need it for the record.
Eladio Bocc, live in Avetas. Their family's been down there for over 100 years, probably. And I'm involved in rodeo. I have nothing against rodeo, but it has its place. There's fairgrounds throughout the state. And when it's in Alan Lori's backyard and our backyard, I work nights, days, and I can't sleep because of the disruption. And Avetas is a peaceful place, was, until all this started happening. And this event has been stopped in other counties, Valencia County, up in Torrance County, and they keep moving different places. So I think we need to put a stop to it. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Bocc.
Thank you.
My wife has something to say as well.
I'm Lori Sandoval. And I live in Avitas. My family has been in that area for many, many generations. And we moved out to that area to be in peace and harmony because we didn't want to live in the city anymore. And now I feel like we're being invaded, not just behind our backyard, but generally speaking in that area. We're having a lot of people coming in who really are not welcome there because of what they bring. We moved here for peace and tranquility, and we're not getting that at this point. It's been disrupted. It's a nuisance, and I'm really very unhappy because our elderly community lives there with a lot of health issues, myself included. I suffer from asthma, and that dust that is being produced when those events are going on are not good for any one of us, and particularly me. So I don't mean to sound selfish, but I don't think we have any need for any of these events happening in our areas. They need to stop. Thank you.
I believe that's all. I did try to get a hold of our,
Secretary.
yes, I did, but we did not have too much luck trying to do that. Also contacted well, I didn't get in touch with the county sheriff. Something was going on with the answering service or whatever it is on the weekend. So, but I did get a hold of the state patrol and they came out. I don't know what they did. And now I think also Mr. Hawks sent somebody out to investigate the noise ordinance. Okay, I'm pretty sure he did show up, but the day he showed up, it was a relatively quiet day that day. Thank you for your time, and we should be on your agenda for next time on the 13th, and at that time we'll be have a lot more detail than just our comments today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sandoval and Mr. Bocc. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. As you know, we can't take action at this time, but you are on the agenda for the next meeting. And that'll give us time to find out more about the zoning and, what they can and can't do in that area. Maybe a little bit why they were run out of Torrance and Valencia, but thanks and sorry you're going through this.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I know not to back and forth, but could I have a minute of
Sure.
public comment? We do have a nighttime something, the ordinance that, and we'll be looking into that and see if you wanna, always participation is encouraged and it's better. And I would like to say that any of you can contact any commissioner you want. We run in a district. When we're elected, we're the county. So you pick and choose who you wish. If you can't call the one you want, call the next one, or I just want you to know that you're free to contact any of us.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Next on public hearing is public comment.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for your services to Socorro County. My name is Cynthia Kenner, and I am a lifelong New Mexico resident and a citizen in Socorro County. I'm here today because election candidate is on the agenda here, and that's what I would like to talk to you about. I want to be on the record that I submitted several emails to Socorro County, 2 for the county commissioners and 1 for the clerk recently. For now, I want to describe the commissioner's email. On November the 11th, 2022 at 12:52, I sent an email with the subject heading, Important New Mexico Election Anomalies Information and requesting Socorro Commissioner to take action. The email contained an attachment that outlined information on voter intimidation, poll book anomalies, violation of process, significant evidence of manipulation and election night reporting and action that must be taken. On November the 14th, 2022, I sent my second email to the commissioner, and I further provided 2 more attachments. One is an email that is dated July 21st, 2022. It's a communication from SOS to New Mexico clerk stating that our voting systems are not certified. The second attachment is a duty to fix New Mexico election included further comprehensive information report for the lack of certification on voting system, which includes tabulators, electronic management system, e-poll books, ballot printing system, audits, proving flip votes. County commissioner must give us answers for why the votes disappeared in multiple races. Commissioners have an authority to do a more thorough review rather than a simple rubber stamp of certification. The law only requires you to certify correct election returns. Please prove to us that they're correct before we sweep another election under the rug. Our SOS did not do her job to comply. Therefore, our commissioner does not continue to certify the election unless the ballots are counted in a trustworthy manner. We must perform two things as part of the county canvass because of the anomalies already apparent in the election results. One, provide the cast vote records to a competent individual for analysis. A preliminary analysis can easily be done by someone who knows what they're looking for. Two, ensure that the number of votes of precincts and vote type in the election result reconcile with the voter history in the registration database. If you find any anomalies in one or two, then demand a full hand recount of the election prior to certification. The clerks and the record custodian and commissioners have the authority to grant these requests. I agree to work with other county commissioners and clerks to work together to hold our Secretary of State accountable. I also want to state on the record that I have submitted a request, cast vote record on September the 27th, and I was denied that because the records do not exist. Since I have resubmitted a new public request, not only for the primary election, but for the general election, and the general election will be ready when it is ready, but the primary election should be given, it's ready to be given. I have yet to receive a response on that, and that request was submitted on November the 10th. The public, I want to remind you guys that the public is entitled to the greatest possible information regarding the affairs of the government and the official acts of public officers and employees. Such information is an essential function of a representative government and an integral part of the routine duty of public officers and employees. The Information Public Request Act affords members of the public to keep a watchful eye on government and an opportunity to determine whether the affairs of the government are honest, faithful, and competent. Transparency must be important to all of us. Then we must hold our elected officials accountable and assure them that we will have our support, that you guys will have our support if the proper actions are taken to protect the people of New Mexico. It's not confident.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else for public comment? Ms. Toya?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anybody else out there that would like to say anything on any matter that's not on the agenda? Nope. So moving on, I believe we need a motion to go into election canvass.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gonzalez. Do we have a second?
I'll take it.
We have a second by Commissioner Duggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in the election canvass. Adam County Clerk.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. You will see on your reports or folders in front of you, you do have our election summary report, which were the unofficial results that were set up on election night by our IT. You will have a candidate summary of a general election for the reports that we have. You will also have a ballot summary of the general elections that was being held. That was held. I'd like to let the commissioners know that our office runs our elections with the utmost integrity. I would like to reiterate on this comments that I feel the constituents of Socorro, New Mexico do not have to worry about running our elections with the most highest integrity that we possibly hold. As an elected official, as an elected, I took oath of office to run the election. That's ongoing. Our election went very well. We had no provisional ballots because we do have same day registration now. During our early voting, we processed, or actually this as well, our April cases, about 47 same day registered voters. On election, we processed over 170 same day registered voters. Sorry. So because of that, we are able to eliminate any provisional ballots and to help the constituents to make their vote count. You guys have any questions for me?
Yes, Madam Clerk, if I might, just for the record, for the board, regarding what, the role of the Board of County Commissioners in canvassing is, and the Board of County Commissioners, job is to, of course, work with the clerk, as you're the chief election official, to determine whether or not, there are any errors. And so if I could just go through the statute, if you can answer these questions, for the benefit of the board, and they can determine whether or not they need to take any action on any errors. Number one, this is specifically from New Mexico Statute 1-1-8. In your examination, have you found any? Does it appear on the face of the election returns that any certificate has not been properly executed?
Everything has been correct.
Number two, does it appear on the face of the returns that there's a discrepancy with the election returns?
No discrepancies.
Is there a discrepancy between the number of votes set forth in the certificate for any candidate and the number of electors voting as shown by the election returns?
There are not.
Number four, does it appear that there is any omission, informality, ambiguity, error, or uncertainty on the face of any of the returns you've examined?
There has not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Nance. Commissioner Duke.
Chairman,
Commissioner Douglas.
yeah, Clerk Saavedra, so, I've been, the grapevine told me, that, for instance, that there's only one party being represented as watchdogs, or what do you call them? The people that, what's that? Challengers.
So if I may just.
Yeah, that's what I.
Everything for both parties. The affiliates did assign challengers on all affiliate sites. So there were some during early voting, there were some on election day, and there were some up on the absentee board on election night in the district court.
Of both parties.
Of both parties, sir.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clear that up because I have been told.
As our presiding judges, they have to take a letter in order for our challengers to attend and to be challengers. We do have signed letters from our presiding judges showing who did show up, from what time to what time, and who attended that.
My own curiosity, so like here within Socorro, you can go to any precinct and vote your district, right? It will print out your district, right?
It will print out your same ballot, your ballot for your district. So we are all convenient centers.
Right.
So if you're coming in from Albuquerque and it's almost closing time, yes, you may stop in Sabinal, you may stop at the Lupita Senior Center.
Within Socorro County.
Within Socorro County, yes, sir.
And, oh gosh. Been watching Biden too much. I something I had in my mind, I guess that's all. I've never known it to be any unfair. Yes, what was in my mind was, so this paper ballot goes through the computer. The computer, you can see it changes the number. It received it. It counted it somewhere. Where does that brain go? Where does that, from that computer there that I put my ballot in, where does that tally? Where does that go?
So let me just go back a little bit. So right before the elections, we do send out letters to our chair affiliates. When we certify our tabulators, which is the machine that you're referring to where our ballot goes in, we did have spectators when we certified our tabulator machines. At that time, they saw us put in the different ballots, making sure that every race was on there, counted every which way. And then our voter technician, he is certified on the machines. At that time, our spectators did witness where the SIM cards were put into the tabulators. They were locked with locks, gold SIM cards. Those are the readers of the tabulators where your ballot goes in. So all of those machines were certified, and we did have spectators from the affiliate chairs watching us as we did that.
But that machine, that local machine, is not electronically transferred to a main brain, something?
No.
No? It's each machine?
Every machine has 2 SIM cards.
Uh-huh.
On the night of election, our presiding judges are instructed at our school of instruction to do their nightly reports. They then break the seal, take out 1 SIM card that they deliver to the county clerk's office. The other one remains in there for any type of recounts. If there's anything, then those 2 cards can be matched, saying that they have the state information on each card.
Betty, I've never known of a problem here in Socorro County. I just asking these questions that my own mind and other people ask me. Obviously, I think we have some problems throughout our country here and there, but.
We are very transparent on our process. Again, we invite the public or affiliation to come in and watch that demonstration of certifying our Dominion tabulators. We do have the consistency of our affiliates showing up to be in chapters. We welcome them. We've always worked with all parties that are concerned. And I feel it was a very, very good election night. Our staff, their creators, who waited until all of our numbers are in.
In one of my out of the county elections, recount, it came out exactly the way it was. I'm sure there's some problems somewhere in the country. They're still counting, I think, in places.
In Socorro County, we are not. Everything was ran and tabulated that night of the election. We did have a board come in the next day for a write-in tally. So that was not done by myself or my chief deputy or Bureau of Elections. We had a separate board for that. So all the numbers are in, and I can guarantee you there was no ballots that were not counted. There was no fraud going on. Again, with being an elected official, I run my office with very high integrity.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, anything else? Danny, I'd just like to say thank you to you and your crew. I know those are some hard hours and it gets a little crazy sometimes. I know you do pull in some part-time staff, and please give my thanks to them for all the hard work they've done over this. And I believe we can now, do we need to approve this now or later on a new action?
It would be, you would approve it now, Mr. Chairman, if you're satisfied with the presentation by the clerk and you don't have any specific questions.
And you said there were 0 provisionals.
0 provisional ballots, and again, thanks to same-day registration, we're able to assist all our constituents on election day to make sure that they are able to register and vote that day. So that eliminates like 0 provisional. So we had none.
I'll make the motion to certify the election as presented.
We do have a motion to certify, and even though a lot of these numbers. That, I was surprised. I'll second that motion.
I'll put a third on it.
Third, Commissioner, is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Only thing I would like to say is thank everybody that didn't go out and vote.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, good ladies.
Thank you, commissioners.
Now, do we have a motion to reconvene into our regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, or Wiggins, a second by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are now in regular session. Moving on to H, the discussion and direction of staff regarding time clock and analyzed employee and elected official compensation. Manager Cox.
What am I getting started? Think what my son's gonna be living Tuesday. It's 1%. This is.
Oh, there's green, I'm sorry.
What is that?
Mr. Research.
I guess. This one's weak.
Yeah.
Mine's weak.
She gave. Change the channel to.
Everybody.
I'm reading my flash drive. I have your.
Okay,
Maybe they haven't clocked in yet.
maybe.
Is it up here? Watch.
I think I have, maybe.
It's in the cloud.
Oh, you, I want to hear. I gotta stop you.
I said, I want to cut out for you. And you said something, like years away.
Ask him, he's here. Chairman, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
That's what I think.
You were a yes on the
Actually,
cabinet?
is this one a shuttle PC?
I'm sorry, I should have done a roll call, my bad.
I kind of,
Do you know someone?
the keyboard's over there by Adrian. It should have been at shuttle PC.
You did say 13 billion?
3 billion with a B,
13.
13.
13 billion light years away they've looked. It's not nothing but rocks.
You seen some of those pictures?
Uh-uh.
It's fake. Amazing.
But aliens in life,
Eric, he sees something that we are.
well, there's a thing with a big red lights flying. I saw it lift up from the airport in that area, made a loop around Socorro. I seen it the other day and thought I was crazy, but the neighbors saw it too. Some kind of it's a big one though. And bright red, no? Tell me I'm not too crazy.
They blink, they blink.
Yeah, I see those. I figure they're hunters or I don't know who they are. But there's a big one. And it doesn't make yeah.
I'm gonna have to stay up once it gets darker.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. Irrigating. I see him. Came down and chased my irrigator. He was scared to death. And then he come into the house and I saw his lights coming through the farm and I went up there to see, and the thing came down the road.
But he thought he had a sense of
Right. I got me one too, but I can't remember to fly it good enough to. Yeah. Well, I got it. Wears out like any toy, but I got it to see the waters instead of driving to the field to look where the water is. I can fly that thing, but at night I can't. It's not that easy to see either. The water in the field. Sometimes you can see the reflection, but I probably need that infrared something. But I don't know. I nearly put it in the ditch. It's supposed to go about. Yeah, well, the electronic world got us in there. It's there's quite a few out there really on calm nights. 13 billion light years away. A light year, you remember he's the were you here the meeting? He was here and he was talking about the BLA and that they look for sound, right? Or they listen for
light waves, same thing as radio waves, electromagnetic waves.
And I asked him, how far have you been able to look in space? And he said the 13 billion light years away. And I said, what's a light year? The distance light travels in 1 year.
Right, about 6 trillion miles.
I was gonna ask.
I don't know.
What's that?
A lot. I don't know.
You have a calculator?
So sound, how fast does sound travel? About 600 and some?
1,100 feet per second.
But in miles an hour.
700 roughly.
And light travels how much faster?
186,000 miles per second.
13 billion years away.
The other day I opened my Google and there was a black hole devouring a star. What happened to that star?
It went into the black hole and it's not.
Where does it go?
Does it descend?
That's where I need to go.
No. Kind of like the.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Moving forward, my last direction is a compensation package, which would include the implementation of a biometric system. Our present system that we have right now is through executive time, and everybody comes in and logs in to a desktop into executive time software platform. At the road department, that's done. Socorro County Sheriff's Office is a little different. They also come and go through use of a radio. The road department, when they're out, obviously somebody has to check them in and out for lunch, and then all timesheets are reviewed by supervisors at the end of the work period or intermittently throughout the work week and or the pay period. So with that in mind, I looked into the biometric system, and there's several systems. This one is touch time, which it interfaces with the executive time that we have right now. As you can see, this is a biometric system that will either use a proximity badge or magnetic badge or barcode reader along with a fingerprint. That's the most expensive kind. So that would still be the same process. They're still gonna have problems at the road department about clocking people in and out for lunch and stuff like that, because they're out on the road. Same along with the sheriff's department with deputies that are out. However, when people go to training, if you don't have their fingerprint and their barcode, at some point, they're still gonna have to enter and then validate it with their supervisor, but they'll still use a barcode and a fingerprint and a actual code that they have to enter as well. So it's 3 tiers, if that's what the commission want. If you want the most integrated system, it requires a code to be entered, a card to be read, and then a fingerprint to be read. If you just want fingerprint and a code, then it's a little bit cheaper. And that's 21 versus like 27, about $3,000. And we need about 4 at the courthouse, 1 at DWI or Escape, 1 at the managers, 1 at the detention center, and 1 here, and 1 at the road department. So 8. Cost is, implementation is about 3,000, so that's 24,000 for implementation. As you can see, it punch in a code, you clock in, you're now clocked in. If you need to clock out, same thing, same process. And then obviously there's a process in which you register employees, and so the system identifies them. And then obviously you give administrative access to supervisors to make sure that they can review it and go from there. Here's the biometric enrollment. So you start, and when we're starting to enroll employees, and it's not too arduous of a method to get it done. You start enrolling them. They all get done at the same time in it. And we're utilizing the same executive time where it talks so they can talk to each other. And I have full capability to review all timesheets. So in case I get some information from somebody that something is awry, I can go in and actually review everything. So employee code, then you do place finger, the scan is complete. You get that done, and then you'll have proximity badges. Some of the questions, so 24,000 to implement, and then $300 a year, $301 a year for maintenance. So that's another $2,400. So depending on what the commission would like to settle on, if you're looking for the most intricate one, you're looking at anywhere between 24 to 27,000 a year and about another $2,400 for maintenance. So the initial cost is about $30,000, 26 to $30,000, and then after that it's about $2,400 a year for maintenance. Some of the things that I had questioned them about, and I did. The only way I got this done, I'd been working on this for about 9 months. The only way I finally had them pass on my request was I threatened to change platforms, and finally it was passed on to somebody else, and they actually started working with me. So each device is positioned wherever we need it at each location. Is a monthly cost, and it ties directly to our present executive time program, so they can communicate with each other. It's fairly seamless transition, other than implementation of the devices, and then getting the barcodes and or magnetic devices, and of course scanning personnel in with their fingerprints. So we'll need IT to help us on the POE injector sites, but the IT team has already advised that they can assist us with that. So either model, the TT7 or the TT10 with the proximity reader, which I showed you is the badge. What else? They don't give a demonstration, but that was what the slideshow was that I had you go through. I think I also gave you the packet. It's pretty ordinary, nothing really too difficult that we shouldn't be able to implement. There are no demonstrations, so I couldn't have them come in and give you a demonstration themselves. So each employee will need to go to a time clock and register their fingerprints. Once this is done, it will be in the system. Nothing too out of the ordinary if you know how biometric systems work. So again, the costs, well, altogether the first year impact about 30 grand. So that said, I've been working night and day and night, weekends, holidays.
Did you clock in?
Yeah. So in your packet, years ago, the county paid about $85,000 to get a compensation study done. And actually, I've been working this on my own. It was the whole organization that did it, and it was never implemented. So I took a similar approach to utilizing some of that data and information and how it was done. I prepared similar compensation packages that were a little bit more verbose than this and more intricate, but this one really serves a purpose that we needed, because right now the county has no official compensation schedule. So if you look at factor number one, the factor number one counts for 40%. Then if you go through, you have your job description and what it entails, and you get the corresponding row and column for numerical values, right? So that's factor number one. And then you take into the sidebar up to 8 years experience, you have 30%, over 8 years, 40%. Then there's additional information in which you would get percentages. So on factor number one, you come up with a numerical value with all that information that you calculated towards that position. So that's 40% of 100% of the final numerical value that you're going to try to come up with what that job is actually worth. Same thing at 35%, you compare all the columns and rows, you read through the identifiers, the information, you take into account some more supervisor responsibility, where they're at in the matrix of either first line supervisors, mid-level, executive, or administration. Factor number three, difficulty. And this is 15%. So you have 40, 35, 15. Same thing, you look at complexity and you look at your job description and you go, okay, here's our job description. Well, this person does this. And at the same time, they meet this, but they don't meet this. So you go to the intersection points and you usually do a midpoint. That's what I treated. I use the mean rather than either the lower or upper quartile. So I used midpoint on everything. And then I'd come back and then I would adjust any percentage if this was also should be awarded within that position. Final factor is 10%, same type of technique. You use the criteria that was established and is well established throughout human resources. I would like to say that I believe I'm the only one that has the PHR rating certification in HR, and my master's was in HR with an emphasis on public administration. So I'm very familiar with this type of matrix and or application of how you grade positions within a given organization. So then you get all that and you start going through your stuff and you start going, okay, equipment operator, here's my numerical value. What there, we get it. And then you start where you formulate your pay plan. This is numerical values off the 4 factors as I just showed you with the additional data that you add into. And it's complex. So let's say if you had in factor number 1, you had 10 points, but it's only 40% of the total points. So that's really only 4 points. Then you go to factor number 2, if you had another 10 points and it's only 35%, so it's only 3.5. So right now you're at 7.5 and you have 15 and 10 left. So that's how you finally get that numerical value. So if you look, it has every position. The ones in yellow are the ones that we don't have. We have a dual role being served. CPO is Sammy, who is also our finance director. Chief Deputy Treasurer, that's actually in another place. If it's in yellow, it means it's an elected office, and we're governed by other policies and state law on what we need to do. So as you see, I went all the way down with the idea that, and the understanding that the city is bringing everybody to $15 an hour. And we had this discussion at the last commission meeting. So my starting point was $15 an hour with this overall numerical value. And then as you can see, as your numerical value increases, that percentage is calculated at this amount. And then in the past, Socorro County has never had a compensation package that identifies a minimum, a mid, or max. So what I've done is I created a minimum with a mid, but with that now you'll have 10 steps if that's what you want to do. You have 10 steps from the minimum to the mid, and then 10 more steps from the mid to the max. With addition to that, I'm asking that we tie that into performance evaluations, and that averages out to about 2% a year if it's authorized that year by the commission. So instead of longevity pay, like some other people are doing, you would actually have a minimum within the job value, and then steps within that based upon your performance evaluation. So right now, if we have an employee that is suspended for 5, 10, 15, 20 days, that's it. Nothing else happens as far as performance evaluation. And conversely, if an employee is actually doing a good job, we have nothing that awards that employee in a step. There is a certification program that I would actually like to reconnoiter and take that out of the equation, because that policy is actually supposed to be a one-time, if you get a certification, it's supposed to be a one-time shot. But supervisors have actually utilized that to give like a 12 an hour raise throughout the year. Problem with that is also exponential, because then if you get that raise, then you get a percentage raise, then you're actually that. And that's not, if you read the policy, that is not the intent of the policy. So that fiscal impact would negate a lot of the expenditures in care. Here is, if you look through your packet, This calculates job value, what minimum would be, where people are at presently. Within that, there are some people. If we put, and that's my suggestion is if we put everybody to minimum, so we have a starting point for once in our life in this county. And then establish the steps with the performance evaluation. That would be a good starting point. The only problem is, and you have to do this because if you don't do this, you're gonna have what's called compression or grade creep or compaction within responsibilities. So you have lay personnel making as much or sometimes more than supervisory personnel. So my suggestion is to start everybody off and correct everybody to the $15 mark. And then go from there based on job value that is established. And go that way. My one item would be in law enforcement and at the detention center is, my suggestion would be, everybody goes to minimum, unless you're uncertified, you start at $19.50 an hour. If you're certified, you go to mid plus step implementation. Detention center, you go to minimum and just step implementation. The city's raising all their police officers to $25 an hour. We just can't compete with that, even with this new one, but we'll get at least fairly competitive and we'll be better off than we were now. And right now, again, I was at the manager's affiliate strategic planning meetings. The main conversation there is the tight, thin line that counties are walking with their detention centers being short on manpower and having a lot of trouble retaining people. And we're gonna start working on some other market strategies throughout all the counties. But one of the main issues when people leave and we do exit interviews, why are you leaving? Well, why would I be here at $13 an hour when Walmart, I can go stack boxes with not being afraid of somebody shoving a shiv in my back at, I can work at Walmart for $15 an hour. So that's the one thing that I would talk about there on elected officials. This is what the green indicates who will be eligible come January 1. John Aguilar, Joe Gonzalez, Julie Griego, David Monette. I guess Lee is the new sheriff. Congratulations, but excuse me. That's already allocated, the undersheriff, and then the new probate judge. If you look at our county rating, and if you treat the elected officials that are coming on board like I'm proposing we treat our county employees. This is our Class B intermediate, where we're actually now qualified for high Class B, but that won't go into effect till July of 2023, right? Adrian?
Correct.
Yeah, so that actually in July 2023 is gonna go to about 27,000 or so. But since we're still Class B, because the assessor, I don't know where she's been, but she has been doing such a great job at assessing property values that now we're a Class B high. But again, it's not validated until July 23. But if we treat our elected officials like we treat the other county employees, this is the proposed salary for them coming in. And my only, well, not my only comment, but my main comment is this compensation model actually allows the county to have a starting point, placement of employees where they need to be placed, makes it competitive. We'll have a biometric system in to make sure that everybody is abiding by what we need them to abide by. When I first came to the county, when we started placing people, they would ask me, where are we gonna place this? And I go, okay, well, let me see the matrix. And they go, oh, what matrix? And I'm like, what do you mean? And we don't have one. So we'd have to go back, do regression analysis of employees who have held that position, and then try to see what the market value was, and then see what their experience was, and then a warm, fuzzy feeling between the department head or the supervisor would come over and say, well, I think we should pay them this. Well, you can't do that. It's just,
That's what we've been doing.
yeah. But you just can't do that. Now it'll be solidified, gives the commission a starting point. Everybody understands where the work is at, what the numerical value is based upon data, market analysis, all those things. And this also protects against grade creep, compaction, compression, especially if you would say allow it that at the detention center, we go to minimum plus step instead of longevity, and the sheriff's office uncertified 1950, but everybody else do mid plus step, and then go from there. That would get our law enforcement at least fairly competitive with other agencies within the area. And this is all based on, I used inflation rate and the CPI Consumer Price Index in order to get to this location, and then implemented the numerical value. And again, it gives steps, and we'll tie it to performance evaluation. The way we're gonna pay for it, I know that's one of the questions, is not only investment income, but we're looking at administrative fees for the ARPA funds. That's another one, and then salary savings that we are looking at, an operational savings in another program. I think you know which one we're talking. So those are the ways we'll pay for it. And sustainability will be just as easily if we're smart and frugal and we actually pay attention to what the steps should be. So this is almost like try to catch up of 20 years of having. So we're trying to do a catch up, and we're doing a fairly good catch up, but not in totality. But sustainability is definitely available if we treat our money right. And we've implemented a lot of revenue sources that we never used to have, like just health at the detention center, where the medical bill was $300,000 a year. I think it was 67 last year. So those types of things, the RISE program that impacts our fiscal capabilities tremendously. The other revenue stuff that we generate and stuff that we put into play. So we have sustainability for decades if we do it right.
Mr. Chairman, but sustainability, a big part of that is the interest that we're getting on the money on the.
Oh, that's part of it. It's not in totality. It's probably.
How much of it?
I'm gonna say probably 40%. Yeah, probably 40%.
We don't know. It could be anything. It could be zero like it was a year ago.
Yeah.
It could be 10%.
It could be 10, and then you would have sustainability even established.
I mean, there's no guarantee in it.
But that's why I'm saying it's a multi-pronged approach on how we're gonna pay for it. I'm not gonna put my money in the bank and say, oh, no, we can pay for it.
Just a second.
Can't hear me?
We lost connection somewhere.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a second, Chairman Martinez, we're having some technical difficulty, and I don't want to get you talking without being on the record, sir.
Thank you.
But
So.
We're good.
Okay, we're good now.
If you notice, with this, so that, like I said, so I'm contractual, so I'm not even in on this conversation as the budget impact, because that's decision somewhere else. But if you look at other impacts of what it means, some people will get a 30% increase. Some will get 1%. And that's the way it is and you may say, well, that's unfair, but what that means is when we're replacing them, those people have reaped the benefits of being paid above the market value for years. And now that we have something that shows the market value, well, I'm sorry, that's the way it goes. And that's the salary or compensation amount for this position.
And we will have a minimum of $15 an hour.
Minimum, because I know for a fact the city is going to $15 an hour.
That,
$25. And I believe when we had that last conversation, somebody had said
I went to 15.
1550 to 15. So I took 15 because I can always do a deduction and or an addition, but I can do it in the calculations that are within direction. If you're happy with that, then we're good to go.
Just a second, Manager Hawk. So Chairman Martinez, you had something to say, sir?
Chairman, Mike, your recommendation, if I heard you correctly, would bring everyone in the county to the minimum salary, the chart?
Yes, minimum on the chart.
Okay. Currently, we have how many full-time employees in the county? 103, 110?
I would have to look at it again, but it looks like about 100 and, we have enough positions for 125, but as you know, we're under discussion with a certain department. So, and presently there's been some that left. So I'm going to say right around 108, Commissioner, somewhere right in there. If you
But
count.
we have openings for 125 according to you.
Well, according to, actually 121. Sorry.
And the reason I'm going there, Mike, is when I went through this chart on the yellow highlights, where you put there everybody to bring them up to $15 an hour, and I look at what they're making now, I counted 42 employees in our county that are under $15 an hour.
That's correct.
If we have 108, that's pretty close to half of our employees are not making $15 an hour.
That's correct. And so most of those, if you look at it, Commissioner, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but most of those, that would be just bringing them to the $15 an hour. But based upon their numerical value, they'll be placed at 1611.
Right.
And then the fiscal, I show the annual budget impact.
But that shows that, well, there's another example. A few years back, the commission approved to bring everyone that was below $12 an hour to 12. If I remember correctly, there was 20 some employees in that category. And one of the employees, I see his name on the sheet. He's currently making $12.78. Even going to 15, that's a pretty good increase. To the minimum, you would go to 15.39.
Right. And
I want to thank you for bringing this. I know the commission has been wanting to do this for a while. And I also want to thank the past commissioners and the past managers for doing that salary study. And for whatever reason, we couldn't have done it or couldn't have been done before. But now, according to you, that it will be sustainable. If we can do this, I think we need to look very carefully and do what we need to do, because the way it is now, we have to provide a sustainable salary for our employees. Commissioners go after the terms are gone, but we want employees to stay here. And so that's my thing, that you need to look at it. But another thing I want to show you, I need you to look at the emergency services. Look at that. One of the employees, if I look at it, go to 2730 starting pay. So please look at that. And the supervisor of that section is not at that salary.
Well, actually, that's, I think that's actually, that's probably a numerical calculation mistake, because the numerical value is 6.13. I'd have to see what the,
Yes.
yeah, so it's probably based upon this C $0.17. That's wrong. And so based upon that is why he's placed there. But thanks for showing that, because that's, this, remember, this was a draft, and so you'll see, because this is a new position, and some calculations may come out like that, and how we go through and actually reconnoiter everything. So the main thing I'd be worried about is, because you can see a 9.35 right below it
Yes.
is at $20, and so 6.131. And actually, I think I've corrected that already on the one I reviewed.
I need you to be aware of it.
Yeah, so for example, like, if you look at 5.68, it's 1589, and 6.51 is 1753, so he'd be right in there, that $17 an hour thing.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks for pointing that out. Can you write that down to make sure I did correctly?
And the last question I have, Manager, if it's approved today by the commission and give you direction to start on it, when would these salary adjustments take effect?
January 1st, 2023.
January 1st? Thank you for all the hard work,
You're welcome.
Mike, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Before I move on, I know we got some directors and other employees here. Are there any comments before any commissioners make any more comments? I've got a few, but. Maybe not. Yes, Madam Clerk.
So thank you for the presentation, Mr. Hawks. I do have a couple of comments. I know the presentation on the biometric has been brought up for a long time by Mr. Duggins. It's a really good idea. I just feel if we're going to be spending $30,000 on a new biometric clock, we could be using that money towards the raises for our employees and elected officials. I feel if there are concerns with time clock usage, and if you feel it's towards a certain office, I feel as an elected official, I do keep time for all of my employees. If there are any concerns or any questions, it's never been brought to my attention as far as time clock abuse. Mr. Hawks, I've never had to go to him for abuse of the time clock being used specifically in my office, because he can and would address it with myself and the employee. I know that our county treasurer and our county assessor were not able to attend our meeting. We have had discussions with the elected officials on the time clocks, and I can say that they agree with my comments, or with if there's any time abuse going on, and any commissioner feels that there is that in any office, it should be brought to our attention so that we can address it. I know we do have other managers in the office in the meeting that are not elected officials. If we can get your concerns or your feedback on what you feel about the time clocks or any time abuse by any employees.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Duggan.
I would expect you to say that, Betty, but we have an obligation as a commission to handle the people's money in an honest and fair and verifiable way. And $30,000 for a setup, just how much raise would that be? We owe it to these people here that are paying the bill to produce to them that we are honest, that we do things right. We've been running this place without even a bottom floor. Just my amigo, my family, my friend gets a better raise than the guy that just left the same seat. It's garbage. We're gonna do it right. And I thank you, Mr. Hawks, excuse me. But we owe it first and foremost, we, the commission, are the ones that are responsible for the money. And we answer to the people, and they deserve it. And $30,000 is not much money. So let it be.
And I totally agree with you, Glenn, Mr. Commissioner. I really do, 100%. As an elected official, we were elected to run our offices with integrity, and I will reiterate that. We do that.
Verification is a good thing.
Time clock, again, if you feel there is time abuse in any of the office, it is up to the commission to bring that to the elected official or the supervisors of every office if you feel that there is any type of time abuse going on. And that's just my opinion. Again, if the people, if the managers or the new elected official has any comment on that, they may do. I mean, if they'd like to see.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Hawks, I think everybody knows I'm very clear on this. If you want that raise, you give me that time clock. And you got my vote. You take the time clock out when you got one less vote. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Appreciate that.
I mean, it's,
Yeah,
that's a good deal. And then we take the cloud out of it, you know?
I'm all for it. I think it's something that you can't have enough checks and balances to make sure there's transparency and quality. And 30 grand to start off is fairly nominal, something that we can live with. The maintenance is good. I did want to bring to Mr. Martinez's question on that. So if you go back through, if you see this formula, when you come up with that, so when we go back, we'll make sure that nothing was transposed. If you go back to that, you'll see the formula has $17. Well, it should be $71. And that's why the pay differentiation, but that was a good catch. So when we're reviewing, remind me to call Mr. Martinez to review it again, so.
Mike, just a couple of questions. I want to know how like emergency call outs and stuff are going to work. Like department, sheriff's department, detention office. I mean, they don't have time to clock in and out. At that time, the supervisor just fills something out.
So it's similar now when we have an emergency, we leave in the sheriff's department, radio operations and stuff like that, and or somebody's at training. You come back and you get with your supervisor and you log in. They're gonna have to log in and then go day by day on the timesheet verification, and the supervisor sitting right there, validating it. That's what goes on now.
Oh,
Like if I send Jennifer somewhere, obviously she can't log in and out at executive time, so I sit down with her. She just did that with Kimberly. Kimberly had an issue, so she was on leave, but I had her working on stuff at home because we actually had to get some stuff out. Her and Jennifer helped me on a lot of it on the practical side. And so then when I do that, I sit down and go, okay, I gave you this assignment. And then log it in. Same thing would happen if somebody's at training, emergency call out. Obviously, you can't run and log in and do the barcode. So
okay, just making sure that there's no kind of penalty or anything for that. And my next question is, I didn't notice, but it looks like they're from current hourly salary to the minimum will actually be deducting. That's not gonna happen, is it?
yeah. So is it a detention officer?
No, sir, it's actually at the compliance office.
So it could be depending, because again, could be the case where based on the market value, they've actually been reaping the benefits of our warm fuzzy feeling. There's about 12 like that are going to be either minimal or close to none. But I think I've said or asked for the latitude is that at the detention we do minimum and then step, and then at the SO do mid and step, and uncertified 1950, and then mid once they're certified, and then the first step. So to give you an example, the sheriff's deputy who I'm going to start them at mid. And then, so they'll have 10 steps up to max. So they'll do mid and then step. If they're 2 or 3 years in, they go to step 3. If I'm a brand new sheriff's deputy uncertified, I walk in the door, they want me there because I meet the minimum qualifications. 1950 takes me up to a year to be certified, then I go to mid. Either I do that, or if you want me to recalculate the minimum on the sheriff's deputy to a numerical value based upon market pressures, then we could still do minimum, mid, and max on law enforcement. I could do that. Recalculate the starting point of where your mid now becomes your minimum in law enforcement because of the market pressures. And then still have 20 steps from minimum to mid to max. I actually rather do that. Do the recalculate of this numerical value for law enforcement, where deputy 1 is 631, they'd have to come to about somewhere in the neighborhood of 1021. So then that wouldn't mess up my spreadsheet on all the calculations, because I could then just plug it in on the values.
If I may, Commissioner, too.
Madam Clerk.
I'm looking at your figures there, and I know one of our employees too, according to that graph, it will show that she would go down, although she's been there for 22 years.
Yeah, so that is the issue. There's, like I said, there'll be 12 like that. There will be 12 because the placement there was over the years. I don't know, well, you can't regress anybody, but that's against law. You can't now because of a pay plan, so that person would stay.
Oh, okay.
They wouldn't, no, you couldn't take away money going and say, hey, we've been overpaying you, give us our.
Okay.
No, they stay there. So they're mixed because of tenure and then the other raises we've given, but based upon all the study and their numerical value.
If they were to start off at that, then of course.
Yeah, there's no way it would start off at that, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, sir. Any more? Yes, Mr. Vega. Oh, sorry. Sheriff, I said Mr. Vega's first. I'm sorry.
I had a question on that.
Please come to the podium and introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Manuel Vega with the Detention Center. So I just had a question with that program. So if you start people off at 15 and say they're making 16, just for example, will they start off at the step that 16 would be at?
So there's, so just so you know, just so we're clear, based upon the numerical value and my recommendation to the commission, no detention officer, actually, if you're detention officer 1, I think you're at 16. I think you're at 16.
11.
Yeah, 1611. So then you're at that minimum, and then you start. Because I don't think you, based upon what I've seen after the majority of your people are fairly new.
Yeah.
So they all go to 1611. If you have one that has 3 or 4 years, but he's not a detention officer 2, he's going to be at 16. So unless the commission says, yeah, if you're a detention officer, we'll give you those steps of tenure. Okay, so those were the 2 included recommendations. The law enforcement 1950 uncertified, and then to mid and step, or recalculate the numerical values so that the minimum is about where the mid would be. And then detention officer minimum and steps. Those were the caveats within what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Ready? I'll go after you.
Chairman Martinez, commissioners, good morning. Mine isn't so much of a question as a statement. I just want to thank you guys and thank Manager Hawks. Thank you guys for putting this together for us. And I think it's really important that we do pass this as soon as possible. Right now, the sheriff's office is definitely one of the lowest paid law enforcement agencies in the state. That being said, we're still getting people from other agencies coming to us because of the atmosphere Sheriff Armijo has made for these guys. We have a loyal group of guys right now, but when everybody around us is getting these huge raises and we're still at $17 an hour, they come back from classes, and this is an honest to God truth. They'll tell you, I'm embarrassed to say what I make. Because at some classes they say, well, we're making this and this, and they're embarrassed. And I think it's very important that we get this done, because we do have a loyal group of guys that work their rear ends off for very little. And to get this done is not only going to help us retain the guys that we have, but it's also going to help us to bring people in. You know, right now, heck, we put it out, and people put in their applications, and then they ask how much we're gonna pay, and they're, oh well, I'm gonna pull my application. So, and we've had that happen just this last time. But now, if we can get competitive, 19 something isn't huge, but it's a big step. It's a big step for us, and I think the way Manager Hawks has it, it's a good start. And if we could get this passed as soon as possible, get these guys paid in January, retain some of these guys, you're gonna see, that we're gonna keep going full steam ahead. If every one of my guys makes more than me, I'd be happy. I didn't make that ambition. I didn't think we make a bunch of money, but if we could get down to go, man, there, it'd be great.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Captain Armijo. Commissioner.
I was also gonna ask, how are we, without the increase compared to the city PD right now in the sheriff's department? Are you guys?
How are we?
Yeah.
I think the question is, how are we right now?
Yeah. Who gets paid more right now?
Oh, the city. Drastically more.
Without the.
And then with their implementation, it's not gonna be as drastic.
Separated. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Manager Hawks?
That's it.
Commissioners, before we move on, I'd like to just, before I move this to a vote, Commissioner Duggins and Clerk Saavedra said it best that, we're dealing with the people around here, and the people that work for us need to be compensated properly. I'm in full support of this. I don't know if any other department heads got any. Okay, Mr. Garcia.
Mr. Chairman.
Just a second, Mr. Garcia's gonna.
You gotta go, you want to have a vote? That's fine. You give it back.
Okay, Chairman, we're gonna put this to vote. Do we have a motion, discussion direction for staff regarding time clock and analyzed employee and elected officials' compensation?
I want to make that motion that we take the better time clock and your recommendation that you felt more comfortable with
Okay,
on the employee.
with the law enforcement,
Right.
reconnoiter to the numerical value.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Duggins. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Martinez. Any more discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I sent an email to our manager. Our finance directors had sent me an email from our auditors, Craig, Rick, and Ingram. I thought I had filled out that questionnaire. There's 5 questions on it. And I wanted to make a comment here. And it's mainly related to parties of fraud, integrity, and ethical value questionnaire. But 3 columns down, it's in black where it says fraud. Includes any intentional financial misstatements and misappropriation of assets, such as fraud items that could include but are not limited to: 1, misuse of credit cards or purchasing cards; 2, time fraud, clocking in to work but not actually working; 3, manipulation, falsification, or altering of accounting records and supporting documents from which financial statements are prepared; 4, misrepresentation in or intentionally admission of events, transactions, or other information that is significant to the financial statements. intentional misapplication of accounting principles related to amount, classification, presentation, or disclosure. Theft of assets such as cash, vehicles, inventory, and supplies, causing the county to pay for goods not received. This is a part of the yearly audit that we have to turn in, and us as commissioners need to fill out this form. And it's self-explanatory on the questions you need to answer. I've answered it, this will be the second time. I'll email it to them, but it is important because if they ask, how are we monitoring this? We have an answer. So,
Thank
that's
you.
my-
Thank you, Commissioner. Before I ask roll call, I just got one comment. Like I was stating, they did bring the integrity of the people's money and our employees and everything. And I, just before I leave, because this is my last month and a half here, I would like to see that board put back together, the Financial Advisement Board. Whether there's a commissioner on there or not, you know, the following board, you're blessed with a man who's really good with numbers and he knows how to make the most out of the money. I think we need to put it back into place. They can report at every meeting if they have to, but that's something that has to be done with the people's money. You need to put it back into play, and I would like to see that on the next agenda if possible. So if I could get a roll call, please.
Mr. Commissioner, just one other thing. I just want to say, I hope this brings this down to once a year discussion, something on the employee stuff. Do you realize how much time we spend on employee benefits and how much time do we spend on the health of the county? It's way upside down. We shouldn't, I hope this brings this to an end, and it should, because you've got it spelled out right there on paper. And now let's get to work on the county. You know, I've said it 100 times, your cow's sick. You want more milk, you're gonna have to take better care of the cow. This county is regressing, and somehow we need to come to grips on that. And I don't know whose mind we need to get into, but we need to stop the bleeding of our county. This is not sustainable in a regressing county, no matter what, anybody. We've got to bring our county back to a good health. And I hope we can spend more time on that. I get a little passionate about that. I'm sorry, but I see, well, my son's leaving, you know? I mean, selling his farm, and there's a lot of people. We've got to stop that. Good people have to stand up.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Anaya,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Martinez.
I have a question. I want to vote for the employees, but I don't want to vote for myself because I'm on that list. So.
Actually, can I exclude myself? Actually, there's no need to do that at this point because the elected official's salary, if you approve, this is only a plan, the elected official's salary will have to come back to you at the next meeting in a specific resolution. And if you choose to do so, you can recuse yourself from that vote. Because that's just one technical aspect of it, that does have to be a separate resolution that will come back. This is just that part of it's just a proposed plan on this part. Everything else is not just proposed, it will happen, but that is proposed.
Yeah.
And should I say Chair Martinez? Chair Martinez.
Yes, thank you.
So motion carries as presented.
I just want to say before I leave, let them report the VLA, however we can help them. Let's get it done. We'll see.
So Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
that we went through,
Yes, sir.
good, thank you.
Moving on to A, the PHI, presentation and direction to staff regarding air medical coverage for county residents.
Let me get back.
Sorry.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me? My name's Jillian Manley. I'm with PHI Air Medical, and I'm here with the Jonas Martinez, who's the Air Medical Base Supervisor in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is an overview of what we do, our services, but also in terms of our program. In the past, the county of Socorro paid membership for their employees. And this is a program to cover the entire county, all of the residents for pickup by PHI Air Medical with no out-of-pocket expenses. Just to give you an overview of the industry, there's about 550,000 air medical flights a year, and that basically equates to one flight every minute. So we actually began in 1949, and we're headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. We have 63 community air medical bases nationwide. And we provide education and outreach medical services to the communities and healthcare systems we service. And one thing that sets PHI Air Medical apart from our competitors is we are CAMPS accredited, and we're the only air medical company that's ever won the Division 0 Safety Award twice. We were the first to be given the award, and we got it again years later for our contribution to improving safety in air medical transport. So each of our bases is staffed with a flight paramedic, a certified flight nurse, a pilot, a mechanic, and then we have an on-call medical director. And our helicopters, a lot of times people don't really realize that our helicopters are like flying ICUs. We have over 30 medications on board, IV pumps, ventilators, field monitors, whole blood for trauma. We can actually do transfusions in flight. We have cardiac monitors, and then for safety, we have autopilot stability augmentation systems, helicopter terrain awareness systems, and 2 of our crew wear night vision goggles at night. So this is what we typically treat for: trauma, cardiac, heart attacks, strokes, burns, and pediatric. And each of our aircraft has the medications and equipment that I mentioned previously. This is what we take into consideration when we transport a patient. The most appropriate facility. If we're going from one facility to another, we always go to a higher level of care. We take into consideration the patient's preference and also weather conditions. So this is where we're located in New Mexico. We have Albuquerque is the closest to Socorro. We have a base in Tucumcari, a base in Grant, and then we have Shola and Stafford in Arizona. So the PHI Cares membership program basically covers all out-of-pocket costs for anytime a member is transported. So what we do is we bill the insurance company if they have one, and then we waive all additional costs. So all co-pays and deductibles are covered, and there's no limit to the number of times a member can be transported by PHI, and there's also no financial coverage limitations. So these are our standard rates. When the county of Socorro was paying for their employees, it was the 1-year household with insurance rate, discounted at $45. It's typically $60, and that covers all employees for pickup nationwide anywhere we fly. What I'm proposing here is countywide coverage. And countywide coverage basically covers all residents for pickup in the county they live in or any county that borders that county. So it would be Socorro, Lincoln, Sierra, Catron, Cebola, Valencia, and Collins would be the coverage area. And then if they wanted to, they could upgrade to $45.
but we base it on the US Census for the county, so 5,002 households is what the 2020 census has. That would be discounted at $7 per household instead of 60. And then the total is 35,014. And what that does is it takes the question out of it. A lot of times patients will say they don't want to be flown because they can't afford it, things like that. And then in medical, every second makes a difference. And then this is how we roll it out. I'm currently doing this program in Union County, Guadalupe County, and Harding County. And so we give, we send a membership card, and then we do a press release, and we'll do local EMS training, LZ training. And that's basically it. Do you have any questions?
Commissioner, so we're gonna have the $7 regardless if they have insurance or not, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then for Medicaid patients, we don't bill them anyway. So, but anybody that doesn't have insurance, it doesn't have Medicaid either.
That's true. Would this cover the inmates in our facility? Because they are residents. Absolutely.
I'll have to get back to you.
That'd be very important to us.
Okay, typically it doesn't, but I'll find out if they are residents.
So if they are wards of the state, typically the institution that they're in has their own medical coverage for that person. That would go through Jonas Martinez, and their medical-based supervisor in Albuquerque. And I kind of inherited this area after we were unfortunately forced to close the base here at Socorro. So typically what happens with wards of the state is that whatever facility that they're in, and it varies from a county jail, penitentiary, they by law they have to be insured. They have to be given coverage for their health care by the state or the entity that they are a ward to. So that usually goes through a different process. So they would be covered anyway.
Well, so I guess my question would be, that would be something that I would think, that the commission, of course, something the commission will have to think about, but that would be something that we would be interested in rolling into this particular program. In some way, or some sort of parallel program to it.
Yeah, and I think that this is and Julian can give you more details on the program itself, but this would cover every single household in the county, any member that lives in that household, and the surrounding counties as well. I'm not 100% sure of the intricacies of wards of the state, but typically that goes through a different coverage, and those are negotiated rates with the insurance companies that insure those inmates.
I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. We would like to just, roll that in and have that discussion with you all and putting in, if we're gonna do that program, we would like to also include those inmates, at least discuss that option.
I'll have to discuss that with my director. It's something I can.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodall, anything to add? Commissioner Martinez, anything to add at this time, sir?
No, Mr. Chairman, no.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for your service. I know people in my family and you guys taking great care of them, and I appreciate all you do. Thank you for this service. At this time, Attorney Knapp's Manager Hux, can I just make the motion that we table this until after your discussion about the inmates, and then go ahead and give direction to Manager Hux to move forward?
I think that probably the direction would be to direct the staff to discuss that portion with the inmates and then look at our budget and see what we can roll in and then bring it back to you all for consideration.
Thank you kindly, sir. So that will be my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again for all you did. Moving on to the New Mexico Housing Strategy presentation. know, see, Ms. Montoya, do we have anybody here for the housing presentation?
No, I think so.
So we will table that. Moving on to C, NRAO Next Generation Learning Center at the VLA presentation.
Legally residents.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us here. I'd like to start out by introducing Dr. Trish Henning here, who is NRAO's Director of New Mexico Operations. That means she is in charge of the Very Large Array and the Very Long Baseline Array, which is headquartered here in Socorro. She is our highest ranking NRAO official in the state of New Mexico, and is going to be playing a huge part in this project. This is the Next Generation Learning Center that we talked to you about back in April. And I'm not going to regurgitate everything that we talked about in April. We went over things in a lot of detail, but I do want to remind you of a few things about this program. What we're trying to do here is build a world-class STEM education center out there at the VLA. And we'll have a lot of educational programs that will go around that will be surrounding it and based there. And we will have the facilities, and I'll show you a little bit of the floor plan here of the facilities that we will have in this center. But we will be able to be a hub of STEM education here in Socorro County for the entire state of New Mexico. And what will that do? Well, that will help with the problem that we all heard during the last political campaign, time after time, that New Mexico is number 51 out of 50 states in the District of Columbia in K-12 education. And STEM is a really huge part of this because STEM jobs are the kind of jobs that we want to see for our children, our grandchildren, so that they don't have to leave the state of New Mexico or Socorro County. So we are going to be using this facility to prepare our young people for the kind of careers that will keep them here in New Mexico in well-paying jobs. And in addition to this, this facility will have an enhanced visitor center. Right now, we get about 25,000 or so tourists from 40 plus countries come out here to see the VLA. And this facility, we believe very strongly, will double that. We are a destination for a certain type of tourist. We also get a lot of tourists from the general public who just drive by or have read about us or seen some of the news coverage about our discoveries and have learned about the VLA and want to come out there and see that. And so we will enhance the economy of Socorro County by building a more enhanced and better tourist destination as a visitor center out here. You saw this back in April. This is our artist conception of the facility that we want to build out there. This building, this part of it here, this is the visitor center here, this angled building. This part of it here is our old cafeteria building. That will be completely refurbished on the inside and turned into the visitor center and the gift shop. What we're going to do is add over here this new section to the building that will have classrooms, laboratories, offices, and everything that will support the education and outreach program that will extend out throughout the state and bring people in here into Socorro County to this facility for STEM education. And as you see here, there are a lot of outdoor parts to this section, to this facility. So this is going to enhance the tourist attraction aspect of it. This will be a destination for tourists. This will be a place for families to come and have a good day and enjoy learning the new facilities, the new displays and programs that we will have in the visitor center. It will be a tourist destination in addition to a destination for STEM education. Now, when I was here back in April, we also went over a little bit of the floor plan. Again, gift shop, visitor center, classrooms, laboratory, other facilities in here, offices for the staff, and so on. We worked with our architects on this. We told them what we wanted in terms of the programs that we want to put on, the facilities that we needed in order to put on those programs. And I think the architects did a really good job for us in putting together the plan for what will do this job. And so this is what we're looking to build. And the price tag is about $20 million. And when I was here in April, we were asking for your support for a congressionally directed spending request to get half of that money, to get $10 million. And we appreciate the support that this commission gave us, because what we were looking for was, this is just another name for an earmark in Congress. And we were working with the staffs of both our US senators to get this congressionally directed spending request into the appropriation bill for the next fiscal year. And with your support and the support of several of the universities, the support of the city and the support of a number of other entities, we got the support of both of our US senators here in New Mexico. They both forwarded this request on to the Appropriations Committee, but unfortunately it did not get into the final appropriations bill. And so one of the people who supported this very strongly was the State Cabinet Secretary for Economic Development, Lisa Keys. She came out and visited the VLA, was very enthusiastic about this project, and she suggested another way of financing this. She suggested that this was worthy of the state supporting it, and not just half of the money, but the state supporting the entire thing, the $20 million to put together this facility. Now, we are all familiar in New Mexico with the anti-donation clause. And so the state cannot legally give the money to the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. But what she suggested, and I suspect that she suggested it based on models that have worked in other areas of the state, she suggested that this be a special request, not coming out of the county's allocation, capital outlay, but a special request outside of the county's request, whatever you folks will want for any infrastructure or any kind of facilities you want to build. But it would come not to NRAO, but the money would come to the county. And the county would then own this facility. We are asking for a special appropriation from the state. Both the state representative and the state senator for the area that covers the VLA are on board with this. We have been talking with them, and so we would anticipate that this would be supported in both houses of the legislature. So how would this work? Well, and I know that some of our folks have been talking to the county manager about this process. Again, this request will be completely separate from any request that the county makes, and I know that you'll make it every year. You come up with a request from the legislature. But the funds will go from the state to the county. The county will own the building, and then NRAO will lease the building from the county. In addition, once it is built and operating, NRAO will do all the maintenance and operation of the building. And this means then that the county will be the fiscal agent for the project. And so what we're going to do, and we're working to make sure that this is the least possible burden administratively on the county. As the project would proceed and we would need to be overseeing the construction, NRAO will do that. We will do all the paperwork. We will work with the contractor. We will take care of all the reports, all the requests for disbursement. We will prepare all of that paperwork. We will do the accounting and reporting. We will send to the county the documents and the requests that the county needs to send to the state. We'll work with your staff on that. We will do all this management of the construction, and then once the whole thing is built, the county owns the building. As I said, then we will lease the building from the county. And this is the way that the Economic Development Secretary proposed that we get this done using state funding. And so what will the county be asked to do? Well, we will prepare the paperwork that needs to go to the state, but then we will give it to you, the county, and the county will then pass that along to the state. The funds will come to the county. We, NRAO, will then request for the money to go to the payments to the contractor as the project progresses. The county will then disperse the funds at our request. This will not mean that the county's putting any money up front. The money will come to the county prior to any disbursement that is required. So what we're trying to do here is to make sure that this project, as the design for this mechanism has progressed, will not have any financial impact on the county. And I think we've even been talking a little bit about whatever it might take on the part of the county staff to reimburse for a little bit of the personnel time there. So the point is that this is a mechanism suggested by the cabinet secretary that would get the state money to build this entire facility that would be a tourist attraction and a statewide enhancement for STEM education, make this county sort of a hub, a focus of STEM education, and do it with state money, because she saw this as economic development. Certainly with this being in Socorro County, it's going to have a large impact, positive economic impact on Socorro County. And so what we're asking is for the fiscal agent, you, the county, to serve as the fiscal agent, and for what we're trying to make sure will be a minimal amount of effort on the part of the county and of course no cost to the county, to be able to produce this facility that will be an economic development for the county, that will be a hub for STEM education, will bring students, teachers, and other educators here to our area to learn about STEM education, to learn about the science, technology, the math, everything that goes into the VLA, but even wider than that. We have an education staff that is certified in outreach in several ways and has worked already, has experience in working with K-12 educators on curriculum, on enhancing the experience for students, and all of these things. And in addition, it will make this place even more of a tourist attraction than it is now. You're probably fully aware, Very Large Array is a world-famous destination for tourists, and we will be providing those tourists with this facility with a much better and more enjoyable experience, and that obviously will bring more of them. So we really thank you for we appreciate everything you did for us back in April. We wish that congressional earmark had worked. Both our senators were very supportive of it, but of course, you know, there are 98 other senators, and it's the world's greatest deliberative body, and they didn't get us in budget. But we appreciate your assistance, we appreciate your help, and we certainly ask that you can help in this way to make this really world-class educational facility a reality. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, and I'm sure that Trish can help answer any that I can't.
I just got one question. As far, you said that the county would own the facilities, or that building anyway, maintenance would still go to NRAO?
We would still cover the maintenance. We will operate the facility, obviously, but we will also cover the maintenance.
Commissioner?
It's kind of a silly question, but what happens to the existing cafeteria now? Is it not being used?
No, it hasn't. It ceased to be a cafeteria almost 30 years ago. Just wasn't economic to run it.
Manager Ross?
Thank you, Commissioner and I, Commissioners. Also, just a matter of record, I believe during our conversation and taking this on, we looked at different methodologies that would have to be deployed. As you know, NRAO is a 501c3, right?
That's correct.
So checking with the county attorney, there are ways that we can still be the fiscal agent and apply for other ICIP funds, I think. I believe that's what we.
That's what my understanding is you can apply for ICIP funds totally separate from this proposal.
Because we'll own the building, but you're something like that.
Yeah, we will run all the programs, we will do everything, but the deed will have the county's name on it.
And then the other thing I just wanted to make a matter of record was that we discussed a reduced rate on our administrative fees. So we established, at least my quote was 10%. So, and that's very well below what we usually charge. But we understand the benefits of bringing this to the area.
Sounds great. Chairman Martinez, anything to add?
No, Chairman, no.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Make.
We have a motion. Chairman Martinez, were you seconding that?
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the presentation and the great work on this.
Thank you very much. We appreciate this greatly.
I look forward to it because I want to see what happened to that star. That black hole.
You won't see what happened to it, I guarantee.
Okay, so moving on to the E, consideration of sheriff's request for new administrative position. Sheriff or Captain Armijo, sorry, jumping the gun, sir.
The boss is outside on a telephone call, but.
That's fine. I actually requested this back on the deal because I had a couple questions. I wasn't here last time we brought it up, and I know we rearranged some parts and some things to try and do something as far as getting the deputies just a little higher, well, across the board at the time. And what I'd like to see is now that you guys got it, these new wages and stuff, if maybe we could sit down, and we've lost some people due to just movement and I don't know what your budget looks like right now, but if there's any time in the near future, maybe we could sit down with Manager Hawks and sit down, see what you want to do with this position and go forward from there. Cause you know, our main goal is just not only trying to be competitive, we want to be better than other local departments and counties. And we want them to say, I think I'm going to go work in Socorro instead of running from Socorro.
Yes, and you know, this position is really important. Right now, of course, you know, Amanda will stay in the position she's at currently. And she does an amazing job. I mean, I couldn't do it without her. None of us could do it without her. I'm sure. That being said, she does a job of probably 3-4 people. She does under sheriff, she does administrative, she does just about everything you can think of in that office. And you know, talking to other sheriffs at the Sheriff's Association, yeah, most other sheriffs have a team to do what she does. They have a team, not just 2 people, not just 1 person. There's, you know, 3 or 4 people that do that. Even Sierra County has a couple people, and they have way less of population than us. But I would like to see somebody come in, if not an administrative secretary, that would be optimal, right? But I do know that costs are what they are. To the alternative, if that's not a possibility, I'd like to get at least the secretary, somebody in there to take some of the load off of her. And I know that'll be a little more cost effective. And I think Manager Hawks, he was spitting numbers off the top of his head last time we talked. So that was, I think he would be able to tell you more what's doable if. But I would absolutely beg you guys to help me get something in that position. It is needed. It is absolutely needed. When you see Amanda in there answering phones, we try and help her out and do whatever we can. But the fact is she does a lot more than she gets paid for, and a lot more than anybody understands. And I see that, and I see her getting burnt out. And it's something that's really needed. So if you guys would consider I don't mind sitting down, and I know the sheriff wants to sit down also and just see what we can do about this position. It's not one of those things where, well, we could do without. We've done without, and I can see it wearing on her after so many years, and it would just be humongous for us as well. And I know I'll be asking for a lot for the next 40 years, I promise, but this is one of the most important things we can. This is one of the most important things I can see coming in right now as far as the office. And you guys give us one of the biggest thing was going to be, I was going to come in and talk to you guys about getting pay raises, and you guys did that without me having to say anything. But I know we can. This is a position we need. It's not a want, it's a need. And so we can sit down, go over numbers, whatever. But this is something starting in January. I would really like to see start
Right in place.
Yes.
Sheriff Armijo, anything to add, sir?
Commissioners, I'm sorry I had a phone call, so I had to step out. I'm not sure where he started, but let me just give you some of the groundbreaking information. So initially, when I took office, I had Ed Sweeney as my undersheriff. He chose to take the position at the jail as a jail administrator, and so I chose not to fill his position, and I dispersed that money through salaries or through wages for the employees. When Amanda came on board, she was doing a tremendous job, and I, in my opinion, felt that she was not making enough money for what she was doing. She was doing the work for 2 or 3 people. And so I chose, and with your permission and your help, we restructured and gave her the undersheriff position. And at that point, we lost the administrative position. We haven't filled that position. The money that we were using for her position plus extra money is how we're paying her in the undersheriff's position. So we didn't sacrifice the position, we didn't lose the position completely. We just it's not funded. It's not there. The position could be filled, but we just don't have the money to do it. And that's what we're trying to do. In my administration, I made it work. We did the best that we could, but I believe it's also fair for the next person coming in, whether it was him or somebody else, to have those positions available to them because that's a position that would normally be there. And that's all I'm asking for.
And one more thing is from when he started and he put her in that position, there have been more mandates through the state and federal government that you got to report this, you got to report this, and so they have added on more since then. And the reporting through the state has changed. They never change it to make it easier. So that's another thing to consider when considering this. The FBI never makes anything easier for us. So.
Thank you, Captain. Commissioners, any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
First of all, congratulations, Captain Emil.
Thank you.
Shake your hand. Mike, on the spreadsheet that you provided us on the sheriff's department section, there are sheriff, detective, and sheriff sergeant. Currently, there's nobody there. Are those still there for the sheriff's department? Those are still.
Chairman Martinez, Commissioners, I believe they are vacancies. I know they had a lieutenant retired that they didn't have an identified position for, but they used some salary savings in order to pay for that. But I think when we would look at it, if I would have the opportunity to sit down with the elected sheriff, I would probably approach it with a 3-year analysis reference, cost, salary savings, and what the average is, and then look at the position with the numerical value and the associated compensation. And then based upon that, look at if we have the capability and capacity, and because no question that the position is needed, but I'd like to be able to do that in order to, well, number one, for sure, make it that it's sustainable based upon past cost comparisons and then address it that way.
Thank you, Mikey.
Sheriff?
So to add a little bit more to that, we do intend to refill those positions at some point. We haven't yet because of the former sheriff putting out the new one coming in. I'm trying to leave those decisions up to him because it's gonna be his office. But it is our intent to refill those positions. And we definitely need our narcotics deputy's position filled. And we don't want to lose our chain of command.
Exactly. I was gonna touch on that also. You know, those positions that we haven't filled, they need to be filled. It's just been a lot going on the last so many months that we haven't had a chance to sit down and discuss what we're gonna do with that. We need to sit down with the county manager and figure out, you know, how we're gonna do that. But we're gonna be filling the detective positions because those positions have proved to be valuable. You know, we've had our detectives be able to solve a lot of cases that state police and the city weren't able to. Our detectives have been able to put stuff together. So, but all the stuff that we haven't filled, we really want to refill them here as soon as possible.
Thanks again, Captain, and Sheriff Armia, thank you for your years of service, sir. Appreciate everything you've done for this county, and I look forward to seeing you down the road somewhere. At this time, maybe just table this until you guys can sit down and really discuss the numbers again.
Yeah, I'd like to opportunity, and I wasn't even trying to suggest